Hello, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's Sunday Night Live. It may be Monday Night Live for you, Monday Morning Live, who knows. But you're very welcome. As per usual, loads to talk about. Been taking your topics through the evening. Feels like an eternity that we drew yet again at lunchtime to Swansea. But lots of other things to talk about. Mourinho's big gamble, really want to delve into that. There's a lot of you talking about that. But just to start the show, I haven't got visual guests tonight because I'm running a bit late, but I've got Sandra and Marcus with me, which we'll go to in a minute. But just to give you, I've not actually heard these quotes, but these are actually from Jose Mourinho from his post-match press conference, where he said, "I'm more than happy with the players and I have zero criticism for them after that result today at lunchtime, and 9 games in April is inhumane." Been inundated by people responding to that, basically saying, how can the manager be so inconsistent? He's publicly been out after every game and had a go at players, and a game when he really needed to do it in relation to Lingard and Rooney, he refuses to do it and says there's zero criticism. And then he says 9 games in April is inhumane. Liverpool did it last year when they were in the Europa League, and Manchester United did it with a much smaller squad in 1999. Do these excuses need to stop, or are they fair? My first question is to you, Marcus, and that would be, in relation to what I've just said there, what happens in the summer if we don't have Europa League, if we don't have Champions League football? Mourinho's not going to be sacked, but as a Manchester United fan, and this is to everyone on the live comments, I really want to read what people are saying about this. What are your thoughts about it if we don't get Champions League football from this season?
First off, let's just say thanks for having me on, and thank you to everyone in the live comments for tuning in. In response to that question, I would say it would be backup plan, because without Champions League football, I think our top targets will not come, no matter how much money we throw at them in wages or the agents. So I think Mourinho will be...
Are we actually alive?
No, not.
I think we are, yeah.
Alright, okay. It seems to have started very late on my screen. I don't know whether it started late on all yours lot.
No, it's just come on now for me.
Just coming out live now, so we've missed the whole intro and everything.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
For fuck's sake, this piece of shit. Okay, I'll start again.
Yep.
Right. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Thank you to YouTube for cutting off the first 2 minutes of introduction, but that's just bloody fantastic. But you're all very welcome on the United Stand. I'm joined by Marcus and Sander. I've just wasted 2 minutes of my life, which is great. And we will go through that again. I've great introduction. Totally lost on you all, but drop us a like. It's live. Okay, so Jose Mourinho, the big gamble is where we're starting off. Loads to talk about. Really brilliant. Appreciate lots of everybody's been tweeting us with comments throughout the afternoon and topics they want to discuss. And we've got absolutely loads to talk about. But just for those who missed this, these are 2 quotes from Jose Mourinho after the Swansea game today, where we drew at home for the millionth time this season. He said, "I'm more than happy with the players and I have zero criticism for the performance today." That might shock a few. We've got 9 games in April. It's inhumane. In relation to the first point, more than happy with the players, zero criticism. A lot of you writing in saying, it's so hypocritical. Where's the consistency from Jose Mourinho? He's publicly berated players after virtually every single game. The one game where we're at home and we need to win and we play defensive and people like Lingard and Rooney don't turn up having had a week off. It's unacceptable, and he stands there and backs the players, which he hasn't done all season. A second thing, 9 games in April, a lot of you are saying this. Manchester United in 1999 won the treble. They played virtually the same amount of games as we're having to play now with a much smaller squad. So where's the excuse there? And didn't Liverpool do this last year as well? I don't know whether they played as many, but I don't know. I think with a lot of fans, everyone's united behind United. Everyone's excited about United. Everyone's frustrated by the result today, but nobody's really Mourinho out. But I think what has frustrated a lot of people today is the excuses that we didn't really want to see, the fatigue. A lot of people feel it's sort of self-inflicted. Where do you... I know I was going to ask you a different question, Marcus, before we weren't live, but I am going to carry on with that a bit there. Where do you stand on that? Do you think Mourinho coming out and not blaming any of the players, saying... Zero criticism from the performance today. Nothing wrong with it. Very happy with the players. Zero criticism. Do you agree with that sort of approach? Do you think he's right to be blaming fatigue?
I agree with it to a certain extent. I think fatigue is playing a massive part. In January, when we got rid of Schneidlin and Memphis, obviously in January, top targets aren't available because they're in the Champions League and they've been registered for the competition and stuff like that. Schweinsteiger went, was it last month? Beginning of this month?
Start of this month, I think,
Yeah. So obviously we can't replace him because of the transfer window. So, I mean, I do agree with it to an extent. Fatigue is a major factor. The squad was, I think, pretty thin before these players went. And it's only been made thinner by him not replacing them. I think, there's a little bit too much respect for the senior players in the team, I think. So I agree with it. I do agree with it.
Okay, joined by Sander with me tonight. Marcus and Sander have many arguments between themselves, never been on the show, so it's quite interesting if they will disagree or agree. But Sander, in relation, are you tired of the excuses? Was that, we weren't tired in October and November when we were drawing at home. Do you think fatigue is a good enough excuse for a side that, let's be honest, we watched the game the first few minutes together anyway, and from minute one, I've got a few people who go to the ground. They've sent us clips from the ground like they normally do, and they said it was like a morgue at Old Trafford because I think people were stunned by the fact that we sat back and tried to hit Swansea on the break at Old Trafford.
Well, it's very clear to see where fatigue is setting in. These players can all pass, they can all shoot very well. They're professional players, and today it just wasn't happening. I think Mourinho's criticism of him, of the team in the past has been warranted. We haven't played well, we haven't won games, but now the squad is depleted as it is, and I think we need all the help we can get. Backing the team and getting that siege mentality together is what we need at the moment, and Mourinho backing them is I think the right thing to do.
Yeah, good to hear. I'm only reading out what a lot of people have got to say themselves regarding the actual frustration, I believe, from many Manchester United. I'm frustrated. I can't justify that performance today. I was shocked, really. I was shocked that we've got this big opportunity. Obviously Arsenal lost. I don't think they're going to get top four anyway, but City drawing, Liverpool away to Watford tomorrow. There's always a chance they might drop points there. But if you can't beat Swansea at home, what are the chances of us being able to beat Crystal Palace at home in a few weeks or Southampton away? I know we've got a good away record, but basically what Mourinho's saying is that my players can barely get out of bed. They're so tired, and I find that. I don't like that. I don't like that from the manager. It's defeatist. It gives players an excuse. I said it in the video earlier that if my boss says to me, you look really tired, that's probably why you're not doing very well at your job. But don't worry, it's because you're tired. As an individual, you're going to think, I'm going to get up. I'm tired. What they actually need is, I think, a kick up their arse. And Lingard and Rooney and Young weren't tired. They didn't play midweek. They should be fresh. I thought Ashley Young did quite well, although a lot of people are critical about his crossing, but that's always been a bit dodgy. But Lingard and Rooney, I think opportunity knocks for you and you don't answer the door. I was disappointed by that. But the original question I asked when we weren't live, Marcus, was if we don't get top four, which I don't believe we will, and if we get knocked out of Europa League, and I was watching Celta Vigo a little bit earlier, if we play like that, I think they'll have no problems passing it around us. I'm not saying they'll beat us, but we're not playing that well at the moment. If we don't get Champions League football and we are stuck with the prospects of another year in the Europa League, Mourinho will not be sacked. But how would you feel as a Manchester United fan? Is it unacceptable? Is it a good enough season to finish maybe fifth and get knocked out in the semi-finals and win the League Cup? Where do you think Manchester United fans will be?
For me, in my own personal opinion, considering what David Moyes did to the club, considering that Van Gaal got rid of a lot of players that Mourinho has publicly said he would have used this season and would have still kept hold of, I think, if we finished fifth, and if we win the Europa League, I'd take that. If we don't win the Europa League, we get knocked out and we still finish fifth or sixth, I would still say I would take that for a first season, because I just think that us as fans, there is so much to do with this squad. It isn't good enough. There's a lot of average players on a lot of money, and there's quite a few players in there that are past their sell-by date for me. So I think this summer is going to be an interesting summer in terms of who's going to go out the door. Not on who we're going to bring in, but I think it's going to be interesting who's going to go out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I just read a comment now that I've completely missed. It's the bloody Sun again. Some people were saying, why did Rooney start today? And people are on about his drinking. I mean, obviously this came up in England duty, but apparently, I mean, it's in the Sun, so take it or bloody leave it. It's not a great paper, but there might be some truth in it. Apparently, after the Burnley game on Sunday, he was out until 3 a.m. drinking pints of lager 4 days before the derby. I mean, I don't know. And
this is our captain.
But I don't know how many other footballers do it, but I don't think it's acceptable. I know we've been over these grounds before. We had Stan Collymore on the show about it. I don't think a footballer at this stage of the season should be out drinking more than some would say none, but certainly not more than a couple of pints. I mean, this is somebody who's 31 as well. You know, fitness is not his strong point. 300 grand a week, captain of the club. I mean, thoughts on that, Xander?
I mean, if you're banging in the goals, you're player of the year. You know, you're a Ronaldo or someone like that. No one's talking about it. No one's moaning about it. But it's Wayne Rooney on 300 grand a week. He's our club captain, and he's not doing very well at all. He's failed to make an impact in the past few games, and that's where the issue lies.
He's got 2 goals in 2 games, but I would agree with you. I mean, penalty and a tap-in.
I think, wasn't it Jagielka got 2 goals or 3 goals in 3 games or something like that. You know, those stats, people can just be in the right place at the right time. And I know that's a skill in itself, but for me, he's not been great over not only this season, but over the past 2-3 years. You know, he should be setting an example off the pitch, and that's not the right one to set. So I think with Rooney, nothing ceases to amaze me anymore. You know, you look at him and it doesn't surprise you, does it? He doesn't look good at all. I don't think it's right, no.
I've got to defend Mourinho on it. The reality is, I said a couple of weeks ago that people like Rooney and Lingard are going to be very important because we just need squad players. And if you can't play squad players at home to Swansea and they don't perform, because Lingard's got to get some as well. You know, he's just signed a new contract, 80 grand, something, it's 100 grand a week. And that performance today was just poor. There was a lot of poor performances, but he's fresh. It was a poor performance. I've heard a lot of people say Lingard is a championship player. And to be honest, on today's performance, I thought he was. But as a squad player, he needs to step up. And the same with Rooney. I've got no issues with Rooney. He's a squad player at Manchester United. He needs to step up. I mean, his performance today, you saw 2 good, the good and the bad, really. A bad performance, but he stepped up when we needed him. Experience, put the penalty away. That's not easy to do. He did it. And then he gave away a really soft free kick that allowed Sigurdsson to do it. But the big mistake for me, Marcus, I'm sure you were watching the game, was right at the beginning of the second half, right on the edge of the 6-yard box. Ball, nobody near him, ball there. Yes, there's players in his way, but a player of his quality has just got to roll it in the bottom corner, and he kicks it at Martial's backside. And to be honest, that was the chance of the game up until Loriente's right at the end. But 2-0 up, we probably win that game.
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, if he buries that chance, then it's game over for me. Mourinho would have had the chance to maybe bring on that young lad that was on the bench. You know, maybe took Rashford off in the last 10 minutes. But like you say, 6 yards out. You know, it's pretty simple, isn't it? You just knock it in the bottom corner, and that's it. But yeah, somehow he manages to hit Martial's backside, and it just doesn't go in. And I think that's typical of Rooney's season.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I said it on the watch-along. Whatever people think about Rooney, and I'm more than happy for those who say people forget what he's done for the club, he's a legend. I don't think people forget. It's just Manchester United evolves. And you can't just say, Rooney, let's leave Rooney alone because he's done something, 3, 4, 5 years ago. But I think the most telling thing was Mourinho basically said he could go to China in February and he decided against it. But with 11 minutes to go, more or less straight after the free kick Rooney conceded us, he takes him off. Club captain, biggest earner, biggest icon, takes him off. Doesn't fancy him to be the player that's going to make the difference in the last 10 minutes. Unfortunately, nobody else did, but Mourinho took him off. Ferris Oddy says the picture was taken in 2014. Stop the agenda and facts check before you speak. Ferris, we are live on a show and it's on the live comments and I've Googled it and I totally and utterly quantified it by saying it's from The Sun and it's not a reliable paper. Remove your head from Wayne Rooney's backside and listen to what's being said on this show. I didn't say it was factual. I gave the information that was there. And if it's true, he shouldn't be doing it. If it's not true, and Ferris, if you're saying it's not true, who am I to say it's not true or true? What I'm saying is, if it is true, it's not acceptable. But ultimately, his performance today wasn't acceptable. His performance over the last 3 years has not been acceptable. But I'm not hanging him out to dry. He's not the reason we didn't win today. You could say it was Lingard. What I would say is, Xander, what are we doing at Manchester United when we are playing Swansea, who are third from bottom, and most of the crowd are stunned into silence by the fact that we are sitting back and trying to hit a team on the break at Old Trafford? I can't remember even Moyes doing that.
Well, I mean, I don't know whether that's Mourinho playing it safe because he knows that our team is fatigued, or maybe people have got an argument to say he's the Portuguese Tony Pulis in terms of his defensive play. I just think overall this season, I've been extremely happy with how Mourinho's played. We've played expansive, exciting, attacking football for the majority of the season. The only games I can think we've played defensive was Liverpool away and City the other day. And I think, so overall I'm happy with how we played. But like you say, Mark, how we played today wasn't acceptable. And not only did Mourinho have a shocker in terms of the tactics, but the whole team had a shocker. Whether that's down to fatigue, I think so. But yeah, it wasn't acceptable.
I watched the game. I'm sure we all did. I want to take some live comments on this. But Ander Herrera wasn't Ander Herrera today. He was just, you could watch him off the ball. He had nothing left in his legs. Michael Carrick, how can Michael Carrick in his mid-30s, when he's only been playing one game a week all season, be expected to play two very demanding games in just over 48 hours? Eric Bailly was just an injury waiting to happen, a total injury waiting to happen. He's been playing virtually every game, 10 games in a row for that, every 3 days. The way he plays, fatigue, he was always going to get injured. I think that was a mistake by Mourinho, by the way. I don't think Bailly should have played today. Sod the points. We didn't get 3 points anyway. So what did we lose by not playing him? He was knackered. I thought Rashford's energy levels were quite good considering how much he's been playing. But Herrera, Carrick and Bailly, they looked knackered today. Fatigue, yes, I agree with that. But do you believe, Marcus, is this a valid excuse or is this a self-inflicted issue that we're now using as an excuse? Because over the season, I listened to the live comments and I remember League Cup games earlier in the season. I remember Europa League games when we're 3-0 up from the first leg. We go away, we play the first team. In the League Cup, we're playing Zlatan and Pogba when we could be playing Fosu, Mensah and Rashford. The squad's not, even forget the youth. There's been times this season when we could have played people like Ashley Young, Wayne Rooney, fringe players. He's not done it. He's basically kept to a certain select players week in, week out. And when it gets to around 60 games of the season, of course, then players are going to be knackered. You mentioned Schneidlin and Memphis being sold and Schweinsteiger going. That's 3 senior professional footballers that at this stage of the season would be absolutely invaluable. Yes, we got good money for them. Yes, in varying levels, they weren't the signings we wanted them to be. But do Manchester United need to sell people in January to make money? No, we don't. Would those 3 players have been better being kept here till the end of the season for what's happening right now? Of course they would. So is there an element of self-infliction here that allows people to be frustrated by a manager that comes out and says, oh, we didn't win today because my players are tired? But when you actually scratch the surface, it's self-inflicted through various mistakes over the season, or is that harsh?
No, I agree with that. Again, to a certain point, it is self-inflicted, but the fatigue issue is not an excuse. I heard him in his interview today. 9 games in April, and they played so many hundreds of minutes of football. Yeah, fatigue is going to come into it. Yes, it's going to play a factor. But everyone can say that this has never happened before under Ferguson, blah blah blah. But the difference is this squad is absolutely bang average, and it need of a major clear out compared to the days of Ferguson's squad. Van Gaal's squad, as I said before, got rid of a load of players that, I mean, in all fairness, a lot of us would have thought, we did think, what the hell? We would have kept them. Van Persie, Hernandez, Raphael, those are the main three. And Mourinho said this season he'd love to have kept them. But this squad is just, he's brought in 4 players, one of the age of 35. Pogba, it's not his fault that he's the most expensive player in the world. But I mean, for me, again, in my own opinion, I think he should be doing more for the money. It's not his fault, the price tag, but for the money, I'd expect someone absolutely fantastic, and someone to pull, to dominate a midfield. And I've just not seen that in games this season. He's been, 7, 8 out of 10 performances. I've not seen a standout performance from him. So I mean, this squad, we've just got to take it. This squad is absolute average, and it's an aging squad in my eyes, because there's quite a few players over the age of 30 that shouldn't be in there. I mean, you say Lingard's fresh, Rooney fresh, Ashley Young fresh. I mean, those are 3 players there that are average players. If we got a decent team, they wouldn't even be in the first team.
I think many of our regulars have picked up on it tonight. I'm not really giving an opinion. I'm giving the devil's advocate thing, which is what a presenter should do. I'm throwing things that have been thrown at me to say tonight. So I don't really want to talk about my opinions. And please, people, don't think what I'm saying is my opinion. I'm literally feeding it to my guests and to you. Anton Griezmann on there, you have been on our live comments for a long time. You've let yourself down. You're blocked. I'm not having somebody say that. You're gone. You need to grow up, mate. You can't say that to people. Bye. Forget you. You're gone. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it's foul. I thought that word was actually blocked on there, but we're not having it. We're not having it. It's a football debate. We were talking before we come on air, actually, about Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV. Now, I think they're open to ridicule. I think some of the guests they have on that channel are idiots. But I know Robbie. I've met him a couple of times. He's a top bloke, making a living out of something that's gone very, very, very big. He's a nice bloke. To get racial abuse, physical abuse, and whatever he's had, I don't know the full story again, but something's certainly gone on at the Spurs game today. This is football fans expressing football opinion. Passion, brilliant. Aggression, controlled, because you are passionate, fine. But when you cross the line of illegality, when you start abusing individuals, whether it's physically or abuse at that individual, it is wrong. This is a game. This is football. It is passion. It is fantastic, but it is opinion. And you cannot, whether you're behind a keyboard or not, come on a live comments, or go up to someone in the street and start giving it illegally. You'll be gone. You'll be blocked. And I know you've been on here for a long time, Antoine Griezmann, if that's your real name, because it bloody well isn't, because you've got way too much money to be watching the United stand. But you're gone. You're finished. And I know you've been here for a long time, but you're not saying that sort of stuff. I'm angry about that, what's happened to Robbie today, to be honest. I've got no love for Arsenal, but I know what he does. It's not very nice. What was I going to say to you, Xander? Okay, just very quickly on the live comments, Celta Vigo are losing at the moment. People are getting really excited. They're resting their players. They're resting their players for Thursday. So, again, Ewan Gordon says Twan-Sebi should have been tried today. Of course he should. We should have wrapped Bailly in cotton wool. But which brings me to my next point, Xander. We've had 4 managers in the last 5 years, and for the last 5 years, Manchester United have been in the top 3 for injuries in the Premier League for the last 5 years with 4 different managers. What's that all about? What is that all about? It's consistent. We get more injuries than anybody else. We've had 4 different managers, so it can't be totally about managers' training regimes. There's got to be a deeper picture here. I remember Van Gaal stressing about it and sacking the physio. I mean, but this is inherent. I mean, I blame Fellaini, but what do you think?
I mean, you dropped me in it there, Mark. It's a difficult question to answer. Like you say, we've had many different managers, so I don't know whether it's down to the specific training regimes under Louis van Gaal. I think yes, it was down to the intense training regime. Under Mourinho, it's been a lack of squad rotation, I think, throughout the season, and just an ounce of kind of we've just been unfortunate. With the Zlatan and Rojo injuries, You know, you can't protect those. That's not down to the manager. With Bailly today, and I think that was down to fatigue, to be honest. Yeah. But you know, with the Fosu-Mensah one, he played. You know, like we complained about it. He's played 4 minutes throughout the whole season. He comes on, it's his opportunity to play. He dislocates his shoulder. So you know, it's a difficult question to answer, but I think we've just been quite unlucky, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about the injuries before. It's interesting as to how this has developed. And Mourinho said it wouldn't happen. He also said a lot of things that I think he has been unlucky in relation to the injuries. I mean, the Rojo and Zlatan ones are huge. I think they're the two that stand out, really. Knee injuries. We were talking about this before, weren't we, Marcus? I mean, just a minute, actually, we've had a super chat from Rude9 the Master. He says, big game bottler Lukaku, small game bottlers United. I mean, I added the points up this season, this afternoon. Off the top of my head, I can normally list the games as well, but home games, this will terrify you. Burnley, West Ham, Stoke, Bournemouth, Hull, West Brom, Swansea, and then you can also add in Arsenal and Everton if you want to, and I think there's another one, but that is 9 games times 2 the points we've dropped because they're all been draws. 18 points. Let's knock 5 off just to be generous. So 13 points we should have had this season it's just ridiculous, and that's over a whole season. You can't blame fatigue for that, I'm afraid. You could blame fatigue today, but it was always going to come back and bite us. Why do you think we're unable to beat, developing Rude9 the Master's point there, Marcus, why do you think we've been unable to beat these lower league teams at Old Trafford?
Well, if the stats are to be believed, then it's because they've got super goalkeepers, haven't they, this season? But I don't know. I honestly don't know. Our squad, you know, it looks good on paper, but you know, when they go out on the pitch, they're just not living up to their names. I mean, for me, you know, the lower league. I always thought it's harder for Manchester United to beat lower league opposition because I just think they come to Old Trafford. You know, as I said earlier on, you know, they play 200% out of their skin and they're willing to go toe to toe with us. And I think it upsets us in a way. It upsets our play, it upsets the rhythm, and it upsets the playing style. So I just think, you know, we're just found out by the lower teams. I really do. But it could also be the personnel that we've got as well. They're just not pulling their weight.
I think when you scratch the surface, there's always two sides to a story, and I think most of us would know if you've been watching football this season. I think Elliot Bluer makes a really good point in the live comments. He says this was the only draw of the season we actually deserved because Swansea played amazing. I think that is probably what I think. There was a culmination of things today. I mean, I've been to a few, and I've seen many lunchtime kickoffs. That it's normally nearly 1 o'clock. Midday is ridiculous. I mean, I was doing the watch along at 11 a.m. It was just weird. People were like, "You look really moody, Mark." I wasn't moody. It's just I've not been up that long, and it's weird doing football at that time in the morning. But so there's that, and then I think the fans turn up expecting Swansea at home. There'll be a lot of attacking football. Yeah, we might concede at the back, but we're going to attack them. And then they watch, and they watch the first half an hour, and it whizzes by, and it's like, what are we doing in this game? We are basically sitting back and letting Swansea attack us and trying to hit them on the break at Old Trafford in front of 75,000 fans. I think that shocks people as well. So I think Elliot's got a point there. I think when you look back at, like Marcus said, the Stoke and the Burnley games back in November or October, super goalie comes to town. We're not very clinical with our finishing, and a game that we should have won 4 or 5 times over, we end up getting a draw because teams park the bus. Swansea didn't park the bus today. Everton didn't park the bus against us either a couple of weeks ago, and West Brom, we just peppered them with crosses and we missed Zlatan. So I think there's been an unlucky variety of draws against the lower level sides that I'm sure Mourinho will sort out next season. I can't remember whether it was Sandro or Marcus, but I totally agree. I think the squad is a problem, and I think Jose Mourinho will be judged next season. He always wins the title in the first 2 years. I think let's not forget he started the job in July. We more or less went straight away to the American tour. I think it'd be very, very difficult for a manager to come in July and go, right, Fellaini, you're crap, Jones, you're crap, Smalling, you're crap, Darmian, you can go, and get rid of 6 players without giving them a chance. Unfortunately, he did it to Schweinsteiger and made him play with the kids, which was in a footballing way. But it was very difficult to do that. I think he's learned a hell of a lot over the season, and I think this summer, if he keeps the same set of players and makes the same mistakes next year, he won't have long at United. But I can't believe he'll do that. I think this summer is so important. But that point I was talking about yesterday, Xander, can United win the title next year? Because he's done it everywhere. He's done it everywhere. Can he take this team from what it is now to win the title next year?
100%. We've seen what Marcus was saying about the squad. I feel like he was kind of pinning that on Mourinho a little bit. I think Mourinho's signings have been absolutely fantastic. Pogba, Marcus, you were saying how, he's not been absolutely outstanding, but we've seen how much we've missed him over the last few games. Pogba today, I feel he would have absolutely run the show. He would have been putting balls in for Rashford. The amount of times Rashford was running in behind, and then when he didn't get it, just looked so frustrated and threw his arms up in the air. Pogba would have found him on many occasions. I find, that Pogba signing was fantastic, and not only has he been brilliant throughout the season, it was a landmark signing in the way. Like you said, Mark, winter has come for La Liga. It showed that we're really still active in the transfer market. Zlatan, 28 goals this season, I think he's on. I know he's missed many opportunities, but that's a good tally. If everyone else chipped in with a little bit more, we'd be, climbing up the table. Mkhitaryan, flashes of brilliance, right, not being so consistent, but, he's been brilliant. And Bailly, he's been my player of the year this season. He's been absolutely fantastic. So, in my opinion, what Mourinho's done to the squad is brilliant. You can't go and sell 6 or 7 players because that ruins the whole team chemistry. Then you'll end up playing with 11 strangers. You can't do it. So for me, I'll give Mourinho a long time because, just purely the way we've played this season. I think give him this summer, get rid of 3 or 4 players, bring in 3 or 4 players, and you'll really start to see a Mourinho team. I don't think currently this is the Mourinho team.
Can I just add something to that?
You can, go on.
Yeah. Well,
this
I just
is
want to say,
top-class chat. Go for it.
I just want to say, just to say, carry on from what Sander was saying there. All these draws that we've had at Old Trafford, Pogba and Zlatan have been in the team, right, for these draws. Now, I know you don't like stats, Mark, but I saw today that Pogba is the highest in the Premier League for most forward passes.
Yeah.
Okay, right, for creation.
I think he's the most for take-ons as well.
Yes. So even
And
today,
and dabs.
even today, without Pogba and Zlatan, right, we are still drawing. Okay, we still drew against Man City away without Pogba, without Zlatan.
Yeah.
So could we make an argument for that? We have lost our most creative player, and we don't have a clinical finisher.
I think it's you've got to look at it. I've been playing devil's advocate. I think you two have been really supportive of Mourinho, and I'm glad you've done that because I didn't want it to be. And I think I know the United stand viewers. I know what they're like, and I know there'll be few really annoyed with some of the things I've said today. But I knew where you two were sort of going to come from because I've spoken to you a few times, and I knew that you would be loyal to the club and to the manager. So I wanted to be devil's advocate. I can do that. I did drama at GCSE, so I can do it. But it's like, I agree. I think when you look at the facts of, yes, Herrera was dead on his feet, Carrick was, Bailly was. They're 3 big players. Zlatan scored the most goals like Zlatan said, like Xander said. Pogba is our most creative player. You take them 2 out of the team, you've got a 19-year-old up front with Rashford, you've got Martial with no confidence, you've got Rooney who can't be, who just, like top four's gone, his legs have gone, you've got Lingard who's a championship player, you've got Mkhitaryan who's in and out of form, you've got, and then you've got the tired players. So ultimately the shot, I said it on the watch along today, we've got every right to be disappointed by that result today. But you know what? Actually, if you were a betting person today, the result you should have gone for was a 1-1 draw because it's the result we've been having so often this season at Old Trafford. There should be no shock at the result today, just disappointment and questions as we are doing now as to why it keeps happening. Because the one consistent about United this season in the Premier League at Old Trafford is draw. It is. It really is. I've got to take this comment because Master Jam has made a super chat comment. Thanks very much for the contribution, and it's a good comment. He says, Mourinho is a pragmatic manager who tries to tick all the boxes on the pitch, better suited to Italian football. I can see where you're coming from there, but this is also a manager who's won three Premier League titles. Look, I've got no crystal ball. I'd go with Xander. I'd say we'll win the title next year because that is what Mourinho does. And I can see the potential for us to do that. I've also read people today saying Mourinho's a spent force. He's been found out. He will be sacked in the next 2 years and he will not win the title at Manchester United, which terrifies me. That could happen, but I'm firmly in that category. I think the summer's going to be really interesting. I think so much depends on us getting the Champions League. And you know what? If you want a bit of positivity tonight, because I think we all deserve it, we are 3 games away from doing it. We can beat Celta Vigo over 2 legs, but we should not expect to beat them. Not in the way that... I'm not saying that we won't beat them. I'm saying it in the way that we shouldn't be arrogant like we were a little bit, even I was, against Anderlecht. We were in extra time of that. We were that close to penalties and a lottery. So Celta Vigo are better than them. We've got to play better. We need Pogba back. We need Pogba back. We need people like Herrera and Carrick just to go to bed for 4 days and have some rest. We need Bailly to go in one of them oxygen tanks and wrap himself up in cotton wool. And we need to pretty much... I tell you what, in a way, the Man City result today, and if Liverpool drop points tomorrow, it's annoying me a little bit because it keeps making us think, we've still got a chance. Let's still pick the players in the Premier League. To be honest, I wish top 4 would just disappear and we just focus on these 3 cup finals. Thanks to Darian Jones and William Amotaba. They've made contributions, but they haven't asked a question, so please do as well. I've got so much I still want to talk about because there's so many people who've asked stuff to ask. Let's go flipping back for a moment to... we were talking about this, Marcus, so I'll let Sander come in and you can add your bit. We were talking about this, Sander, at before the game. We were talking about injuries and how Bailly played today. We didn't predict the injury, but we said... Bailly playing today is so bloody disappointing. He obviously doesn't trust playing Twansibi, which, to be fair, against Lorente, maybe doesn't want to throw him in at the deep end, but I think you have to, at some point, you've got to throw a youth player in at the deep end and see if they can swim. But ultimately, if Bailly wouldn't have played today if Jones or Smalling had got themselves back fit. Over a week ago, Mourinho publicly said they need to be playing in the derby. He will have been told by the medical staff that they are ready, they are just not pushing themselves back. If we've seen Juan Mata come back, he was asked about this directly. I did see this question, Mourinho. He was asked the question about Phil Jones and Chris Smalling and when they'll be back for injury, and he said, I've got it here, I prefer not to speak about them. I prefer to speak about Juan Mata, who listens to what I've got to say and the need of the team and forces his way back. Again, very damning of Phil Jones and Chris Smalling. Is it right that United fans are giving them stick? What are your thoughts on it?
It's difficult because, you said that the medical... I know you don't know proper inside information, but you presumed that Mourinho would have got the all clear from the medics. In that case, then yes, 100% they should play. But if they have got a knock, and Jones especially, he's been injury prone all his life. I can understand why he doesn't want to come back and risk it again and get another maybe more long-term injury. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying from Jones's point, I understand because obviously he's been damned with these injuries and maybe he wants to get fully fit and then come back in. With Smalling, I'd agree. He should definitely be playing if they've got the all clear from the medics and it's just down to Smalling. Then yes, if the medics have said that he's fit enough to play, then 100% he should play. But for me, if it's maybe not, I don't think you can look down on them negatively because look, if you've got a broken toe, and I know there's all sorts of ejections, etc. But if you've got a broken toe, at the end of the day, you're kicking the ball with that toe, right? Every time you kick it, you're kicking like essentially a broken toe, right? And you're not going to play at 100%. I'd rather have Twanzebe play than a 50% Chris Smalling. So I just think, yes, you can criticise them, and yes, you can criticise their attitude, but if they're injured, they're injured. And by the way, I actually predicted the Bailly injury on Twitter before the game. I tweeted he's going to get injured due to fatigue, but there you go.
Just very quickly, because Shaka has a tendency to do this. He'll ask the same question until I read it. It's walking a tightrope of being blocked, I think. But he says, Mark, ever thought of bringing Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV on for the preview? Look, I know Robbie. I speak to Robbie, but they're all part of this Ball Street network, a bit like the Full-Time Devils are all part of the Fremantle network, and they won't come on. And that's the simple thing. I would love them to come on because I like Robbie, but they're all part of that network, and it won't work. It won't happen. Louise says that Mata is a legend for coming back early, which he is. And Ming Hui says, I would send Smalling and Jones packing. They're not good enough and they're cowardly as well. Marcus, come in and tell us what your thoughts are in it.
Well, my thoughts are I am firmly behind what Jose said. He knows more than me. He knows more than quite a lot of people. So if he says that those two are, how should we say it, not feigning injury, but their injuries aren't as serious as what they're making out to be, then yeah, fair play to him. I think fans should know what sort of players we got playing for our club, playing for the badge, for the shirt. If they're going to be babies about it, and I've got a broken toe, or I've got a muscle strain or something like that, and you come to this crucial part of the season where we need them, we need players to stand up and be counted and to show the passion for the club and to win a trophy to get us, if they're so badly in need of Champions League football, you've got to put your body on the line to get it. And we need everyone, we need bodies in this team to fight for it. So, yeah, I totally agree with him. Sod them. If they, I hate to sound harsh, but if they're going to be wimps about it, out the door.
It's all about opinion. Personally, I just didn't want Bay to play today, and I think Mourinho's got to take responsibility for that. But ultimately, I feel that Chris Smalling and Phil Jones have got that Bay injury, however bad it is, on their shoulders, and that's how I know. The minute I've said that, I feel really bad for saying it. But look, he didn't trust Twansibi to play. Whether that's right or wrong, I think it's wrong. But I think if he's got if he's got a Smalling or Jones ready, he would have played them today. And if he'd have played them today, Bay would have got a rest and he wouldn't have got injured. And I think it's on them. And I don't believe that a manager comes out a week ago and says Jones and Smalling need to be making themselves available for the Thursday derby. You don't publicly come out and do that unless you know that they should be doing that. And they haven't done that. Chris Smalling, as we said this morning, he tweeted on Derby Day saying, "Oh, gutted I'm not involved." He got absolutely slated by Manchester United fans because Mourinho had said that. So it is interesting, and I'd be interested to see if they're still at the club. To be honest, I'll be blunt and say Phil Jones, I'll be happy if he leaves. Nothing to do with his ability, just that we've had him for 4 years. He's never played more than 6 games in a row and he always gets injured. It doesn't matter it wouldn't matter if Phil Jones was the best defender in the world. I'd still sell him, because if he's never going to be able to play more than 6 games in a row, you can't trust him. You can't build a team around it. Smalling, I like Smalling. I think he's good in the air. I think he can be a good defender, but it's inexcusable. This is the second time Mourinho's questioned him and his fitness. He did it back in November as well after the Chelsea game. Mr. Jarman's made a contribution again. He says Mourinho got the skills to do it at United, but his decisions have been strange. He needs to take more risks. But I agree with Xander. I think that the football we were playing when we were drawing in November and October was really good football. I think it's business end of the season. Very few teams are playing scintillating football in April and May because it's about grinding out results. But we have seen good football. Somebody said, can you do a topic on have we improved under Van Gaal? I'll do it very quickly now. Have we improved under Van Gaal? From me, 100% yes. Xander?
I can't even believe that's a question. 100% yes.
Marcus?
Yeah, mate, you don't need me to say it. Totally agree with you.
Well, we've covered the topic for that person, but there isn't a topic to discuss. We are infinitely better than we were under Van Gaal. George Kyle wants me to break the Smalling bond. Look, I think, to be honest, I'll be amazed. I'll be absolutely amazed based on what's been said about Jones and Smalling. What happened to Rooney today? I think those 3 are finished at Manchester United. Some of it's sad. But
what we'll say about, whether I agree with, Mourinho criticising them or not, I like what Mourinho's looking for. He's looking for those strong-willed, passionate, hard players, and I respect that, and that's what we want to see in the United shirt. So I think, that's good for the future.
Please, everybody, there's over 1,000 of you watching. We're sort of hovering around that. If you are new, please subscribe to the channel. The hologram's in the bottom right corner. But please, 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 if you do like the United Stand, please do drop us a like tonight, because I've purposely been playing devil's advocate. I don't agree with a lot of the things I've been saying. They've been fed through from all your tweets and stuff like that. And I've really enjoyed it. The chat's been really good. But please do drop us a like, because it's not easy to sometimes do these shows and antagonise some of you with the things I've been saying. But these are things that have been said by a lot of United fans. I don't believe them. I back Mourinho. I always have. And I was actually thinking about it today. What if in 2 years' time we're still in this situation with Mourinho? I turned against Van Gaal. I had my issues with Van Gaal from an early stage. I never liked Moyes. Mourinho was my dream as Manchester United manager, and I back him. But if we were still in this position in 2 years, I just get the feeling that because of what I feel about Mourinho, even if we were lost 10 games in a row next year and we're in the bottom three like he was with Chelsea, I still don't think I could turn. I think I might go, I accept why United fans want him to go, and ultimately the results aren't good enough, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And that's how I feel about Mourinho. I don't know... I just can't see... I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, but I just can't see myself. And I think, I respect people who are like that, because there were some people who were like that with Van Gaal. They're now with the people with white coats, but they did back him to the end. I've got 2 topics to discuss. Right, let's talk this one, because this is... It's a bit left field, but I want to talk about the team for the Europa League and whether Mata should play. But I want to talk about this first, Marcus, because I know you're a very big Fellaini fan. The pundits today, some of the pundits today after the game were on about height and how Manchester United missed Zlatan and Fellaini's height. And somebody sent us a message and said, "Can you talk about it just for a couple of minutes? Fixation with height. It infuriates me. It absolutely infuriates me. I've watched Manchester United for years, and we've very rarely been fixated. We've very rarely had players in the attacking positions from midfield to the centre forwards who play just to give us some height. But over the last 2 or 3 years in United, especially, it's basically symbolised by Fellaini, but we've had it with Zlatan this year. This fixation that you've got to have height. Is it a modern phenomenon that you need it, or are United just too obsessed with it?"
No, I think it's a modern phenomenon, as you said. A lot of the teams, I mean, Chelsea got a couple of tall players. Arsenal, again, a couple of tall players, demanding players as well. Both those teams have got. Spurs, they got a couple of over 6 foot. Man City, obviously, have got a couple. And I just think in the modern game now, height is such an advantage because of the way football has changed since the Ferguson era. And it's like the way that the formations changed. Only Leicester used a 4-4-2 last season.
Good point.
Conte's using a 3-4-3. I saw today against Everton. So it's football's just is changing. It's evolving, and I think if you don't roll with the times, you get left behind. And I think it's I know it's nothing to do with it, but it's the same sort of thing as technology. If you don't roll with technology, you get left behind. And that's my theory on it.
I mean, to be honest, Austin Arsenal has just said there we could have used Fellaini today. And I agree. I said it on the watch-along today, and it might shock people. But if I was Mourinho today, I would have been sat there with 10 minutes to go thinking, where's Fellaini so I can kick his arse? Because it's like, with 10 minutes to go, he had to bring Mkhitaryan on for Rooney. Now, Mkhitaryan's just not physical, is he? That last 10 minutes, if you could have just chucked Fellaini into the box, and we can't do it because he's done a stupid thing on the other night. We can't use Zlatan because he can't walk on his legs, so Zlatan's not even a possibility. But Fellaini, for that last 10 minutes, that plan B would have been really useful. We didn't know what to do in the last 5 minutes against Swansea. We didn't create any chances because we had nothing to hurt them with. They're sitting back. We've got nothing to launch it into the box. So, yeah, from that point of view, I think it's really important. But I think the problem Manchester United have got, Xander, is that, you need a bit of height. But that is all Fellaini gives you, is height. And we've played him way too much this year. He can't pass the ball. He can't run with the ball. He's not very good at attacking. He's slow. If you're going to have a tall player, and we've been obsessed with him for the last 3 years, and I don't think it's any coincidence that we're nowhere near top 4 every year that he's played, apart from I think we scraped 4th for once, didn't we, with Van Gaal. He's a Jonah, but we just need to go and sign somebody who's over 6 foot who can play football. There's plenty out there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I hate to do it, but I have to agree with Marcus. Height is so important. In the Spanish leagues, people argue, oh, Barcelona, that brilliant team, one of the best teams of all time, arguably, that didn't have loads of height in it. That's because Spanish football is a completely different beast. It's much more technical. It's much more on the floor. Whereas English football, we're known for, long balls. It's a tough game, etc. So I think height in the Premier League is absolutely essential. But then again, like you say, Mark, don't just have people that are tall. Peter Crouch is useful for that. If you're going to play like that, you need tall players that can actually do something with the ball. A Pogba, a Zlatan, not a Fellaini, in my opinion. So I'd agree with you both.
United in the stands chance sort of shuts it down a bit. He says we need people who are good in the air. Tall people are a myth. Look at Everett and Hernandez, both very good in the air. Everett used to score a lot of free kicks. He wasn't particularly tall. It's a good point. I think the problem with United is we've used Fellaini way too much over the last 3 years. We could have used him today. I've got no problem with him being on the bench, really, as a last 10-minute option. He's good. That's where he causes the damage. Opposition's penalty box. He started too many games and he needs to go. But that leads perfectly into what I want to talk about next. Europa League game on Thursday, away to Celta Vigo. We're very fortunate, actually, that I think every one of our knockout ties, we've had the second leg at Old Trafford. I think the French team we didn't, did we? I think Saint Etienne was... Anyway, by the by, to be at home second leg is very, very important. Although our home form's not been great, has it? But talking about Fellaini, Marcus, he surely will be played, because if we're tired, he's not tired because he got himself sent off last Thursday. So he's had a week off. So he obviously fancies a bit of European football. So he will surely start.
You would think so, wouldn't you? I mean, people say, yourself included, Mourinho's obsessed with the guy. But I think going, the way our last couple of games have gone, it's evident that we have missed some sort of height somewhere in the midfield, or attack, dead ball situations, corners. It's just we don't have that option anymore. And I think, he's bound to start. If he doesn't start, I'd be absolutely amazed, because the midfield is just absolutely bare in it. I mean, we get probably Pogba's going to play. He hasn't played for a few games. I could see maybe Herrera being given a rest and put Fellaini there. And, I would probably think that Mata's probably going to start as well. Again, just come back from injury. I saw him after the game today, doing a couple of exercises, getting fit. So I'd be surprised if Fellaini didn't start. I really would.
MX Kalo says we miss Zlatan not just for his height but his presence he brings to our attack. Don't think opposition are scared of Rashford. I think that's spot on. I think we missed Zlatan against City. Our forwards got bullied and Zlatan doesn't get bullied. And I said we'd miss Zlatan. I understood people's excitement about having Rashford up front and the pace, but he's still a young lad, and Zlatan is an experienced world-class striker. The minute he got injured, we were always going to have some problems. We need Pogba back on Thursday. To be honest, you know what? We've got 4.5 days rest before we play on Thursday night. Herrera should be well rested. He can play Fellaini. He can play Pogba. Hopefully Mata's back. Mkhitaryan. The options are looking better. I mean, the concern is whether Eric Bay is injured or not, because if he is, then we're in a little bit of trouble. But, we're a few hours after the result now, Xander. We've got Celta Vigo on Thursday over 2 legs, and then we've got a cup final, and it is the biggest cup final if we can do it. What are you? I think today we needed to box a bit clever to try and get 3 points, and we didn't do it. But I think we've got enough time before Thursday, and we've got enough players to put a decent side out. Yeah,
I think your Herreras and your youthful-ish players like that. In 4 days they should be able to recover. But I worry for your Carricks, your Rooneys, players of over 30, who might not be able to recover that quickly after playing City and today. I think Fellaini, it all depends on what formation he plays, because it wouldn't surprise me if Mourinho pulls out a 4-4-2. He's been so unpredictable over the season. But yeah, I think Fellaini has to play. I don't think Carrick will be able to play, so I think Fellaini not only is he a body? Because we literally just need bodies to get on the pitch. We are so, we're scraping the barrel now for actual just professional players. So, yeah, I think he has to play for me. I think it'll be very tough. You said then we've got a cup final. I'd say more if we've got a cup final. I know we're live, and so it slips out very easily. But, I think it will be very tough. Celta Vigo aren't mugs. They aren't going to be pushovers. And I think it'll be a very difficult game.
Celta Vigo are at home to Atletico Bilbao and they are losing 3-0, to which people are getting quite excited on Twitter. They've basically rested their whole team, so don't get too excited. This is the problem we've got, though, isn't it? But I think that having the second leg at home is an advantage. And on paper, and you never win anything on paper, United have got the better team. But I do remember us playing Atletico Bilbao a few years ago, actually, funnily enough, and we thought we were going to beat them, and they played us off the park. La Liga, it's a higher standard in the top teams, and the mid-table teams can be a real challenge. So it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited about it. Really looking forward to it. And Shaka Phillips makes a good point. Actually, I meant to say this when Marcus was talking. If Fellaini is going to play on Thursday, I actually would like to see him playing as a number 9 or as a number 10. I don't want him in the midfield. I think put him up front, keep him out of the way of the midfield, and cause Celta Vigo a little bit of problems with his height and his physicality. I think that's a really good option. That we've had to. He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot, Fellaini, because that headbutt was so soft. He deserved to be sent off, but if he was going to do it, he should have done it properly, because he's now got a 3-match ban, and he half did it, and he should have done it properly if he was going to do it. And I just want to say he shouldn't have done it. I don't advocate that at all. But if he was going to do it, he may as well do it properly, and he didn't even do that right. But without Zlatan, we really could have used him as an attacking tall player, and he's done himself out of a box. Anyone else got anything they want to say?
I just think, what you said about Fellaini playing in that more forward position. He played there against City, and I think De Gea constantly was pumping it up to him. And, we were hoping that Fellaini would bring it down, as we saw, I think, 2 years ago against Liverpool. He did it fantastically. But he wasn't doing it. He was getting dominated in the air. And like that, I can't remember who commented it, but it's a myth that Fellaini's, good in the air. He's a good header of the ball. He's not. He's tall, but he can't head the ball. He's got fantastic chest control, but he can't head the ball. So I think, Fellaini has to play, like I said, because he's a body. But I don't know. I think putting him up there will just slow us down and force a style of play that I don't think Manchester United should ever play.
Marcus, anything you want to finish up with?
I'd actually like to get you two's opinion on Luke Shaw today.
Oh yeah, good point.
Out with a horrific broken leg. Double break, I think it was, comes back, in and out of the team all season, and then again today, 10 minutes, he's out again. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know what mine are.
Well, I'll just give you mine, then I'll come back to you, and then Xander can give us his. I mean, my thoughts are this. I just think I like Luke Shaw. I want him to be our first choice left back, but I think today might have been the final nail in his coffin, because nothing to do with ability. I think he's in the same camp of Phil Jones now. Mourinho can't trust him to stay fit. And it's really sad, because I think he's good enough. But I did say a few weeks ago, as an outside bet, I think Mendy, Monaco will be a United player next summer. He's basically Valencia at left back. I think Luke Shaw could be Manchester United's left back, but there's too many injuries. And when Mourinho gives him a chance, he either has a bad performance or he gets injured. And I don't think Mourinho fancies him. That's my thought.
Sander?
I just think, yeah, I'd agree with Mark on that. I think today was the final nail in his coffin. I think, again, he's getting into that Jones territory where you can't rely on him. I said it a few weeks ago, I think, on one of the shows. His injury is now going to be a constant throughout his career, like it is for Jones. So I think, I'd love him to stay, and I'd love him to stay fit. I think we all would, because he's got so much potential. But whether he can do that, I'm not so sure.
No, I was just going to say that you can see the potential there. The level of ability he had at Southampton. There's a reason why we went for him and got him and paid that much money. But I think after that leg break, he's never going to be the same player. I see it I can see it in the way he plays. Sometimes he doesn't look like he's up for a tackle. Players, I'm not saying they're prioritising his left leg, but when they go in to tackle him, that left leg's it's taking a hell of a beating, and I just think now I think his time is up now, and today's just settled it for me.
Sad, isn't it?
It is very sad, very sad. Dante Roa says, honestly, how are we going to sell Fellaini? No one wants him. Apparently, he's just sold his house. But don't get excited. It's because he's going to get a new contract and he's buying a bigger one. So I think the new contract for Fellaini is just round the corner, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I just wanted to say this and sort of leave you with it in a way. We go on about English footballers and how we want to have English footballers in our team, and we were on about Chelsea playing the other day and they didn't have any English players or British players in their team. Just throw this at you just to sort of dwell on it a little bit, really. You look at our English players this year. Who has stood up to the plate? It's not been the English players. It's been your Herreras, your Valencias. It's not your Bays. I mean, Luke Shaw. I'm not saying it's their fault, but you look at Rooney, captain. Not really much from him this season. Lingard, very little. Smalling and Jones, we've already spoken about them. Luke Shaw, we've spoken about him. Ashley Young, again, not a lot from him. Who else is there? I mean, Michael Carrick, I think, has actually done quite well. But
Rashford.
Mourinho hasn't used him much. And Rashford, over the last few weeks, has been good. But for the English core, normally very, very important to Manchester United, not really stepped up to the plate this season, have they? Which is something else I was thinking about earlier. But thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming on.
Always, mate. Pleasure.
Mad Marcus is obviously on the moderators, and Sandra as well. Have you got Twitter accounts you want to shout out, or girlfriends or boyfriends or what?
I don't want to shout my wife out, mate. No way. Go on, Sandra. Do yours first.
Yeah, mine is Sander_Seegers7. Regular Twitter poster. There you go.
Yeah, and mine is mad_Marcus13.
I'd just like to shout out this big massive zit that's appeared on my forehead. It's very you're very welcome on my beautiful face. But apart from that, I won't shout anything else out. Thanks everybody for getting involved. I've enjoyed it. I know I've played a bit of devil's advocate, but tomorrow night is your chance. It's Skype Goldbridge tomorrow night at 8:30. Skype in, have your chance to have your say. There's so much to talk about United at the moment, and I think it's going to be a really interesting show. So the username on Skype is Skype Goldbridge, all one word, and we'll be live. Sorry, it won't be 8:30 tomorrow night. It'll be 8 o'clock tomorrow night because it's Bank Holiday Monday. I've got to do something a bit later on, so I'm going to go 8 till 9 instead of 8:30 till 9:30. So 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Skype Goldbridge is the word. Anything you want to talk about, it's your show. Looking forward to that. Please do drop a like on the video, and I've got to shout out as well, second paragraph in the video description is the United Stand members community on Patreon. Quite a few of you signing up now, lots of good chat going on involved there, bit of exclusive content which is going to grow and grow, and we are going to start doing a few live things on there as well. So get on there if you like the United Stand community, get involved on Patreon. Very, very, very welcome to have you. And that's about it for tonight. Lots to discuss. Disappointing result, but excited. Looking forward to Celta Vigo. It's very interesting, isn't it? Arsenal next Sunday as well. That's going to be interesting, just as a one-off game. But really, really enjoyed tonight. Not just from my guests, but also from the live comments. You're fantastic. A few people saying that they didn't have a notification. I'm not in control of that from YouTube. YouTube's very weird at the moment. I thought I was live for 2 minutes and I wasn't. So apologies if you didn't get that. But the reality is, if you've not got a notification or not, we're live at 8:30 every night. So as long as you come onto YouTube at 8:30, you'll find us. We're going to be live. So thanks everyone for watching, and really looking forward to tomorrow night's show. I'll see you all very, very soon.